Do everyone just suck? Or is the Premier League just that good? Right? The reason why this topic came into my head were Tottenham Hotspurs. I know these guys suck, like completely. They suck, right? But when you look at them in the Champions League, these guys are fourth in the league phase. And you're like, wow, how are they fourth place in the league phase? Of course, they're not a really good team. And I agree with you. They did not win a single Premier League game in January. That makes no sense to me. But you look at their Champions League run, they've beaten Dortmund, they've beaten Eintracht Frankfurt as well. And the only game that they lost in the Champions League was to PSG. And even that was competitive, 5-3. And then that led me to another thing. I found 5 teams out of the top 8 were English. So then I went on and looked at the other European competitions, and I found Aston Villa being second in the Europa League, of course finishing top 8, right? And to be fair, they are really doing well in the league as well. I think they're third in the Premier League. But when you look further down, Nottingham are going to the playoffs for the Europa League. These guys are just above the relegation zone, right? The same thing with Crystal Palace. They're on the same points as Spurs, if I'm not mistaken, and they are also going to the playoffs of the Conference League. And then again, it goes to the first question I asked. Is everyone else just cheeks, or is the Premier League just really good? And that's kind of what we're going to discuss in this video. Before we get into that one, please make sure you subscribe to the channel, like the video if you enjoy this one. I promise you're going to enjoy every other video you see on this channel. So please make sure you subscribe to the channel, and let's get into this one. Now, to start the video off, I am a big advocate for a lot of other leagues. I really like watching a few games in La Liga. It's a really good league. And I have a lot of friends who watch Serie A as well. It's something I also want to get into. And I feel like the average football fan right now, there's a word for it actually. It's called Premtard, right? You could probably search where the word derives from. But basically, it means that if it's not the Premier League, it doesn't matter. Anything that's not the Premier League is just automatically, signed off as ass. And I don't like that sentiment because I feel like every single league has something different to offer from maybe like a tactical standpoint or like a free-flowing standpoint. Whatever it is, every single league is different. But you guys make it very difficult for me to defend you. Make it very difficult for me to defend you. Now, we'll start with Barcelona. I support Barcelona. I've supported them all my life, and I feel like we have a really good team and we can win the Champions League this season, right? I found out that we were playing Chelsea this season, and I remember there was a video that Chelsea released who they want to face in the Champions League. A lot of their players saying Barcelona, 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 right? And I was like, okay, this is a big fixture, and I feel like it's something that we can go in and win, right? Tell me why we went there and lost 3-0. 3-0 to Chelsea. And I understand we got a red card. Araujo, never play for my club again. Understand we got a red card and stuff, but like that performance was very, very poor. Very, very poor. And then, Cucurella was really doing well. Estevao really had like a stand-up performance in that game as well. And the thing that made it even worse is that Chelsea did not win their next 3 games. They did not win the next 3 games. They drew at 1-1 with Arsenal, then they lost 3-1 to Leeds. And then they drew 0-0 with Bournemouth. We look at Real Madrid. Yes, I'm still going to speak about you guys. We look at Real Madrid. They started really well with Xabi Alonso, Vini doing his thing, Mbappe scoring in every single game. They were really confident. And they were going away to Liverpool at Anfield, right? Liverpool in this season, they've been really bad, right? A lot of bad results leading up to that Real Madrid game, and we thought we were going to see a slaughter at Anfield. And they lose 1-0. Real Madrid lose 1-0. Right, Cody Gakpo, hey man, he looked like Mbappe on that game, bro. He looked like Mbappe in that game, and Mbappe, I don't know what he did in that game, bro. I don't know what he did. And the funny thing about it is, Liverpool's next 2 games, they lost 3-0 to Man City and lost 3-0 to Nottingham Forest. At home. Look at Bayern Munich as well, another really good team, and are contended to win the Champions League this season. Bayern Munich, they went on a 17-game winning run, and then they rocked up at the Emirates and lost 2-1. Now, in retrospect, you can look at it and say, hey, it was a competitive game, whatever, if you didn't watch the game. But if you actually watched the game, Kane was nowhere to be seen. Olise was nowhere to be seen. Arsenal completely dominated that game. And if you're someone who watches Arsenal in the Premier League all that much, these guys aren't that good in terms of like dominating games. They will win a game, definitely, but like in terms of like full domination, possession the entire time, chance creation, all those things, they're not really doing that all the time. But in this game, it was complete domination. But the biggest culprit here for me is Atletico Madrid, bro. I think this was fresh off them beating Real Madrid. Was it 5-2 or 5-3? One of the two. And they rock up at the Emirates and lose 4-0, bro. Gyökeres scored a brace against you. Victor Gyökeres. The guy who, oh man, I'm gonna The point is, it feels like there's a clear difference between the Premier League and every single other league, right? There's a clear difference in class, right? And the question is, what causes this? And to kind of indicate where that problem stems from, we have to go to the past completely. Now, the obvious reason is money. That is why the Premier League is mostly better than all these other leagues. That's why these teams can spend as much as they want and compete with other teams in Europe, is because they have a lot of money to do so. And that, drives back to 1992 when the Premier League was officially made. It was first the first division, and then it became the Premier League. And from that, a lot of TV deals were made, eventually making the Premier League become global, right? Growth in terms of like support for these teams in Africa and in Asia go to all-time highs, and a lot of money is coming in at the expense of that. So that means a lot of guaranteed money going to a lot of teams. There's a reason why the Serie A was considered the best league in Europe, and maybe even the best league in the world, and it's because they had the TV deals before this. You can ask like a lot of old people like about football teams that they know, they'll probably tell you Milan, they'll probably tell you Juventus as well, because those were the teams that were advertised to them in the 80s and the 90s. But when you look now and you had to ask the random person in your street, what team do you support? They probably tell you this team, or City, or Liverpool, or Chelsea, or any of the big teams in England, maybe except for Spurs. Why would you do that to yourself? But basically with these TV deals, you get a lot of money. And also the Championship playoff is often referred to as the most expensive game in world football. And that's because usually the guaranteed money for getting promoted, right, is like 100 million, bro. That is life-changing money for a promoted club, bro. And that's obviously to help the team try survive in the Premier League, obviously, and makes it more competitive. Hence, keeping the league very competitive. You see big teams losing to smaller teams, but that's because they're also able to sign, big players from other leagues. And a move that always irked me all the time was, Paqueta when he was at Lyon and he was like, turning up, you saw the edits, you saw everything, but like he was really doing good at Lyon, right? And it irked me that he signed for West Ham when he could have signed for a bigger club like a Dortmund, or went back to AC Milan, or went to Atletico Madrid, but he went to West Ham. And the only reason he was able to go to West Ham is because West Ham could do it. They could spend 40 million on this guy, while Atletico Madrid couldn't do that, while Dortmund couldn't do that because they can't afford to. That's the reality of what the Premier League money gives to you. And obviously I've touched on it a bit, the globalization that the league gets, right? The league becomes really popular, right? In Africa, you see in Nigeria and Ghana, there are literally meetings, emergency meetings over their coaches' performances and stuff, or how bad the team is doing. There's a lot of global access. There's a lot of people watching the Premier League and only the Premier League. Again, I will say that you ask a random person in the street what they support or who they watch, usually it's Premier League teams. The Sunderland transfer window from this season is not supposed to happen. It's not supposed to like be able to happen, bro. This is the first time that they've been in the Premier League since 2017, and they're already spending 200 million in their first season in the Premier League, bro. The fact that Granit Xhaka could leave a Champions League club in Bayer Leverkusen just to sign for Sunderland in the Premier League, a newly promoted Sunderland team. That is insane, bro. That is insane. But basically, you can see what that causes. When you get a lot of money from TV deals and revenue and all those things, you are able to spend a lot of money. The fact that like a team that just got newly promoted can spend more than like a Serie A champion just shows a lot. But of course, we're looking at what the Premier League has done. What are the other leagues doing to get better? Because I feel like these guys aren't doing enough. They are not doing enough. And of course, we can look at Ligue 1. I feel like this is a league that is often scrutinized because of how uncompetitive it is, right? Of course, PSG got taken over by the Qataris in like the early 2010s, and a lot of money came in, right? Signing Zlatan, signing Cavani, and eventually we fell upon Neymar, Mbappe, Messi eventually as well. Like this became a superstar club. They got Jordan deals and stuff. They got really big in Africa as well, right? They were really, really big. And that, of course, led to them being very, very dominant in the league, constantly winning the league every single season. Bar one, and then they'll win the league again every single season. And of course, the Qataris didn't just draw in PSG to win the league, bro. Like, come on, bro. They won the Champions League, and they failed season after season after season. And what happened after failing season after season after season is that they signed more big players to try win the Champions League, more big players. And then the gap between the second best team in the league and PSG just keeps growing. Look at Bundesliga as well. Bayern Munich, they dominated the league every single season. I can also say that these guys are also one of the biggest clubs in the world, right? They're also looking to win the Champions League every single season, right? They're also upgrading. But the thing is with them, they constantly strengthen themselves by signing players, signing the best players from each Bundesliga team. You look at La Liga, obviously the big three teams being Atletico Madrid, Real Madrid, and Barcelona. These are the best teams in the league, but they will never ever get a match in terms of competitiveness, it's because of the salary caps and revenue. Why do you have a salary cap, bruh? The fact that Barcelona are struggling to sign players, of course, you see a rumor, they're like, oh, Barcelona want to sign, let's say Haaland, for example. They have to sell like 4 or 5 players just because of that salary cap, bro. It is difficult to work with it. It is difficult to work with it. Real Madrid are having to sign free players. I don't think you guys understand how difficult it is, right? And you have the other teams in the league who are struggling to make money from a revenue standpoint. And all of those things really lead to the league being very uncompetitive, right? Why would you want to watch a league that is not competitive? But you look in the Bundesliga, you look in Liga, and there's nothing to look forward to if you know the winner of the league. And not to say that it doesn't happen in the Premier League as well. Man City dominated the league for a long time now, and you look at in the 2000s as well, Manchester United were the ones dominating the league. But the rest of the league was competitive, bro. You're looking at the top 4 fights, looking at the relegation battles as well. You don't know who goes down. You don't know who finishes in the top 4. Yes, you know who might be the champions, but everything else is competitive. And I don't think you see the same thing in these other leagues. Maybe Serie A is the only one that I can make an exception to, because you never know who's winning the league. You never know who's finishing in the top 4. You never know who's getting relegated. It's always competitive. Basically, what I want is just competitiveness, bro. I just want competitiveness. I want to see like the big clubs from every single league competing with the Premier League clubs as well, having a really good time. You know, potentially winning the Champions League, because now it's looking like Arsenal are going to win the Champions League, bro. I can't have that happening. I have too many enemies, okay? I have too many enemies. They're already winning the league. I can't have them winning the Champions League, bro. So Barcelona, I'm begging. I am begging. Please win. Please win. You light my fire. But anyways, what do you think about the competitiveness of the Premier League or of the other leagues as well? Share your opinion. The comment section is always open down below. But for me, it's been Sentinel, and I'll see you on the next video. Peace.